Okay, welcome to podcast number 2.
Hello.
I'm Ryan DeCastro,
And I'm Dalton Castro,
and this is Money, Body, Goals,
a fitness podcast and a finance podcast, and a little bit of mix of everything.
personal growth, relationship, marriage.
Yeah. If you guys don't know who I am a personal trainer and coach.
And I am a wealth coach and certified financial planner. So today I thought we'd kind of dive into more about our bodybuilding journeys. So I feel like there's some people watching this who might not know much about me, much about you, and obviously we have our own stories to share. So I thought that'd be a good topic. I do want to dive into also our career paths as well, because we're both doing something completely different than what we went to school for. But we might not have enough time for that today, so that'll definitely be in the next one. So for me, I started bodybuilding probably when I was 21. I remember I was never really athletic growing up. I never did any sports. The gym wasn't really on my radar. And also social media wasn't a thing that I remember much of in high school. So I was never really insecure about my body, probably until I was going into 4th year of university. And that's when all the drinking and the partying and the drunk food kind of catches up to you.
Yeah, it's catching up to you.
At least in my case. I feel like nothing really catches up to you. But very different metabolisms. So yeah, I was going into my 4th year, and that's when I kind of started paying more attention to how my body looked, and I just wasn't happy. I've never been overweight, but very different body composition back then before I started working out. So I think at my heaviest, I was maybe 119. I'm 5'3" for context, but I started watching people vlogging on YouTube, like Buff Bunny, Christian Guzman, Nikki Blackketter, and that really inspired me, I think, to kind of try to make a change when it came to starting to work out and focus on different areas that I wanted to change. So I used to hold a lot of weight, probably in I would say my stomach and my upper back were my biggest insecurities. So I remember I started the summer before going into 4th year, and I just signed up for this HIIT cardio class that they were offering at the gym.
Oh, that must have been brutal.
It was hard, but that was kind of what introduced me to the whole scene. So I think I lost 10 pounds within a couple months. I just started to shed weight like that. But also I just committed to completely changing my lifestyle. So I started paying attention to what I was putting in my body and started tracking macros, started meal prepping, and I was just super, super consistent with it.
Where did you learn how to do those things though? Who showed you the ways, or were you just researching online, or what were you doing?
I think a lot of it was from the YouTube videos I was watching of other kind of fitness influencers. And then I used to just go on bodybuilding.com to look up workouts to do.
The OG method. That's what everyone used to do.
So yeah, I mean, when that first 10 pounds came off, it was just a game changer for me. I remember going back home Thanksgiving, going out with some friends, and everyone was coming up to me, giving me compliments, saying how they've kind of been following along on Instagram and seeing what I was up to. And so after that night, I even remember what I was wearing that night. It was very significant for me.
Yeah, it's a life-changing moment.
So I was like, okay, this is kind of neat. And after that, after you start seeing results, then you kind of just always have a certain goal. I remember hitting a plate on squats was a huge milestone for me, or hip thrusting 2 plates, or being able to do more than 1 pull-up was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then it's seeing the quad and the hamstring separation, seeing my first vein. I remember all of those things.
It's so funny because these are actually such significant moments in people's lives.
And it just becomes addicting.
Yeah.
So a couple months in, I was seeing all these results, and the gym just became a big part of my life. But at that point, I was looking at these other girls that were vlogging who were competing in bodybuilding. So I've always had a pretty small physique, and I just saw them and I was like, you know what, I think I would have a good shot at doing that. So that's at that point I hired the coach that I was working with and started prepping for my first show. And then right after I graduated that year, I competed.
And how'd you do?
And I came in second.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember stepping on stage for the first time was top 5 like best feelings that I can remember in my life. And I know you can relate to that. It's a lot more recent for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, did you start around the same time or even a bit earlier? Do you remember the first time you got into the gym?
Yeah, so my process getting in even into the gym was a really difficult one because a lot of my friends were already going to the gym, they were seeing results, and me, when I was in my teens, I was really skinny and really short. So it was very intimidating for me. So I didn't want to get into that world because I was just so afraid of it. But because my friends finally pushed me to like start trying to train, I would start working out in my basement.
Okay.
And honestly, a lot of the first primary things that I ever did getting into fitness were all BS. Like I followed the wrong accounts on YouTube that were teaching you how to get jacked in 30 days with like a towel. And I was thinking, wow, like I'm gonna follow this guy religiously, and that's what everyone did. I'm not gonna say any names, but like this was like a major influencer at the time where everyone was following his stuff, but like not actually seeing results from it. So I was doing a bunch of random stuff, and then I finally started following some workout plans for my friends. And then when I first joined Good Life, it was actually because of the Teen Fitness Pass.
Okay.
So they have a free membership during the summer for people that are between a certain age. And I was like just at the very end of that age range.
Okay.
So I pushed and I'm like, okay, I'll go with you guys to the gym. I still remember the very first workout I ever did. I went into the corner of the gym and I got like those risers and I put it against the wall and I was just doing step ups because I'm like, this is going to be the easiest thing for me to do and not be like embarrass myself. So I was doing like legs and doing random step ups while everyone's like bench pressing and squatting and deadlifting.
I remember in high school, I'd go occasionally after school with a friend, and we'd literally just grab a mat and do an ab workout. Like, we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
And the weight room was still intimidating at that time. So.
Oh, the weight room, even when I started going to Good Life, it was still really intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
So like once the summer finished and that pass expired, I got myself a real pass. But I did most of my workouts in my basement because I gathered a bunch of equipment from my uncle, who used to be like a big gym rat.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me like a bunch of barbells, squat rack, like bench press. And the guys would even come over into the basement and we'd do like the most random workouts. Like we would just do max bench press competition with some of our friends. And like one of our friends who was still like just entering their teens was joining us.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to notice that they were like stronger than me. So I thought that was like a motivator for me where I'm thinking, okay, I'm like one of the older guys in the group, really weak and small. So it was a big motivation for me was just because of how skinny I grew up and how tiny I've always been.
Yeah.
I was tired of being looked down on in the sense like, oh, he's so weak. Oh, we would never pick him for like a strong guy to help us move something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that inspired me to start getting bigger and stronger. And like my fitness journey was honestly from grade 12.
Okay.
Until now. So that was in 2012.
Yeah.
Or no, 2013 was my graduating year. So that was a long time ago. And I would say like a good 5-6 years of training was not that great of training. I've always grown up in the gym thinking that I was way better than I actually am. So it's kind of a good and a bad thing. Like I was very confident in my body once I started to notice muscle, but I wasn't like actually this top dog that I thought I was in my head. Because now when I look back, I'm like, I was the skinniest little boy in the gym for so long until I started working at Good Life. But that's going to be the conversation where we talk about our career shift.
Yeah.
But like that's where I actually started making the best quality gains. And even then, like I've always seen people competing. I've had friends who competed.
Yeah.
I don't really know why I never committed to stepping on stage. I think it was just a little bit of a insecurity for me where, like I said,
you still kind of thought you were too small.
Yeah. I never believed that I had the potential to do well. I just thought, I'm in my own world. When I go to the gym, it's just me. I'm not focused on anybody else. Yeah. I can't picture myself comparing myself to other guys who are better than me. So that was like a big insecurity I think I had that I never really talked about.
So at what point did that shift for you?
After we got married.
Really?
Yeah, once we got married, starting to notice like, okay, I've made some pretty quality gains.
Yeah.
Maybe I should give this a shot. I'm getting older. I'm not getting younger. Timeline is thinning. Like I don't want to try and enter my mid 30s and finally do a bodybuilding show. So I'm like, why not do it
Yeah.
just before I turn 30?
And I think your trajectory since we got married, just the past 2 years, like if you look at photos of you from that week in Mexico to now,
Yeah.
it's crazy how much bigger you are.
Ah, thanks. Yeah, no, it's true. I made a really big change.
Yeah.
A lot of different
Just
life
the eating.
decisions.
Your,
Yeah,
your
well, no,
eating was never consistent.
my eating was super inconsistent, and even to this day, I think it's still a little bit of a struggle. But I think the main driver for everything was actually me hiring a coach.
Right.
Like me finally getting off my high horse and being like, I should have a coach. I think some of the best coaches have coaches. So once I like took my ego to the side and said, you know what, I should actually pay somebody to help make me better.
Yeah.
Then that's when I really started to get better.
Yeah.
Because I needed
you
more
don't
guidance.
know what you don't know.
Exactly. Like there's so many things that I learned from my coach, and
Yeah.
maybe if I never got a coach in the first place, I would never have done as well as I did. So it's important to actually seek out help from people who know more than you.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be always thinking that you know everything, right? So yeah, like you said, the quality of gains that I made from after we got married to right now is night and day, I'd say. But the goal is to continue getting bigger. Sorry, Mom.
No, I think we're really focused. I mean, both of us on just putting on muscle right now.
Yeah.
Because now when I look back at my kind of the progress I made in those early years of me prepping for a show and even being on stage, like that's the physique that I was chasing for so long back when I wasn't happy with my body. But since I've kind of been doing this for so long now, it's like I can look back at that and see how much of a twig I looked like on stage. Like I was 98 pounds.
Oh my God, she was so small.
I had tiny legs, like tiny everything. And if you would have seen, like anyone who's not in that world would have seen those photos and probably thought I was anorexic. Like it does not look healthy.
There was a lot of negative attention that you were getting too, right? Like there were people being like, oh, like you're not eating enough. Like that's, are you sure you want to look like that? But then the other people who understand that world were like, wow, you look great. Like you did a great job. Like the people who were in that world understood the work it takes to even get to that point.
Yeah.
And the people who lived outside of that world were thinking she's just starving herself and she's very unhealthy.
Yeah. Like any photos I'd post of me, you know, like showing off my abs, I'm sure people would who didn't know me would see that and be like, is she okay? Yeah. But the nice thing is I feel like now bodybuilding has changed where there's girls in bikini who still look so jacked.
Yeah.
And you can tell the amount of muscle they have when they're in off season.
The division also has changed a lot. Like if we look at bodybuilding or bikini in specific, or actually even men's physique when it first started. So when men's physiques first started, the way that it looks now is night and day.
Yeah.
Like the look originally for men's physique was just guys who look like they can just go to the beach and have abs in board shorts. Like surfer dudes were jacked. That's what it looked like back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's like some of these men's physique guys at the Olympian level are massive.
Yeah. I feel like it's so much more impressive.
Yeah.
Now that you know what to look for.
Yeah.
And you know kind of like what the discipline and the dedication looks like behind the scenes to get to that point.
Yeah. And then for bikini, I think some of the girls back in the day when it first started was girls who have like a nice ab line, but like they're not shredded to the bone.
Yeah.
And now like the division looks way different where some of these girls are like diced.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think I would compete again, because I know I'd have to probably bulk for like 2 to 3 years before I'd be comfortable competing against like that caliber of other women.
You want to have a good amount of muscle mass on your body. Like it's one thing to get lean, and like if you were a bigger person and then you get lean, that's one thing. But to get like stage lean and have like visible muscle definition and like show off a good physique from bikini and do well, it's very different now. It's cool how everything's changed.
But just the lifestyle, I don't think we're ever going to grow out of.
I hope not. I don't think, like I tell people this all the time, like I don't want to ever change in the sense of I pay attention to what I eat. I always want to look good. Even like if I'm not stage lean looking good, like I still want to be in off season and not be disgusted with myself.
Yeah.
I want to be healthy, right? I want to be like 70 and I'm jacked. Like I don't want to be broken when I'm 7 years old. I don't want to be the guy who's in a cane and like can barely get up the stairs.
Yeah.
right? So, and that has nothing to do with bodybuilding. That has everything to do with just being a healthy person and like having the proper lifestyle and everything.
Being functional.
Yeah. And I see it actually in the generation differences where like our grandparents, other than Papu's on another level. Her grandfather is an absolute unit in his 80s. But like a lot of older
he's
people.
89.
Yeah.
And still works full time.
Yeah.
Making pizzas at the restaurant.
Shout out to Papu, he's a boss. But a lot of people in his age group right now are absolutely deteriorating. And it's because they weren't like as active as he is. They're not doing things as much. They don't even go for walks as often. Like if you're not doing those things, getting older, then I think once you're at that
shout
age.
out to your clients you have a couple in their 70s, don't you? Who still work out consistently and
And I love it. Like when I see people that are over the age of 70 and are still going to the gym, I don't even care what you do in the gym. The fact that you're showing up, you're better than 50% of the people that aren't even doing that.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Big wins for my 7-year-olds. Hopefully I continue training all my clients until they're in their 70s.
Yeah. So one thing I love about the lifestyle is, like I said, it just gets addicting. And I mean, even when we went on our first date, we worked out together.
Oh yeah. That is the most unconventional first date ever. Whenever I tell people about what our first date actually was, they're like, that's your date? Like, yeah, we worked out and we got all you can eat sushi after. Sounds like a dream date for me.
And I feel like I've always wanted that kind of relationship. And it's not because, yes, it's nice that you have a nice physique and you look good, but it's just more about kind of sharing that common interest. That's something that makes each of us better.
Yeah.
We're going to the gym together. We're paying attention to the foods we're eating. We're not eating like crap all the time. We have goals that we're working towards.
I definitely think we both saw the potential in each other too, because of the trajectory we were on. Like we were meant to just blossom as we got older because we weren't in a position where we're just deteriorating. We were in our early 20s and we're very like motivated and hungry to look better and feel better all the time. And then look at us now in our 30s where I would like to say that I'm significantly in a better shape than I was when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah. And I would even say the same for myself.
Exactly.
Even though that's when I was competing.
Yeah. And you kept saying it yourself too. You were like, yeah, you were so small when we first met.
You were? Or I was?
Me.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I think there were so many pictures where Rai looked more in shape than I did. Like, she looked more jacked than I did in so many photos. And I thought to myself, how are you dating me?
Yeah, I out-angled you a lot.
A lot. Even to this day, you still manage to do it.
Sometimes.
Gotta keep me humble, right?
But no, it's always been fun for us to, even when we're traveling, like to try out new gyms, go to fitness expos. We get excited about trying pre-workouts.
Yeah. Like our first few years of dating, we went to back-to-back expos. Like we did the Toronto Pro Show, 2 or 3 times? Well, actually, the first time was when we didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
But, and that's actually a story that we can tell another time where we first met at a...
We didn't meet.
Fitness expo.
You saw me there.
Okay, you met, like you saw me too.
I didn't notice you.
You filmed the back of my head.
It wasn't until after that I knew who you were.
Okay.
But anyways, it's funny that like a year later...
We ended up going to the Pro Show together.
We went to that together.
And then the year after.
Yeah.
And then the year after that one, we went to the Arnold.
In Ohio?
Yeah, the Arnolds in Ohio. And...
Maybe Olympia one day?
Olympia soon.
Yeah?
Once my coach qualifies for Olympia one day.
You mean when you do?
My coach first. I told him if he goes to Olympia, I'm going. So yes. I would love that. Mm-hmm. And these expos are awesome. Like these fitness expos, they're so much more than what you think they're going to be. You get there and it's like a whole world full of people who are very like-minded.
Yeah.
And that's like how I felt when I did my show for the first time, is literally every person in this building, if you were to have a conversation with them, we're all very similar like-minded people where we're super into the gym, because obviously you can't do a bodybuilding show if you're not. You're focused on your goals. You're focused on your eating. Everyone had to go through a very similar kind of diet to get to where they needed to be. And then also just they're motivated outside of the gym where a lot of the people are actually trainers and coaches that I met. A lot of them were. Some of the people that we met from like the States, they were also very like-minded people and they had very similar goals to us.
Yeah, I mean, I find that it's just so easy to form instant connections with these people that we meet because they are very like-minded.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of in the same boat where we share similar experiences. And a lot of the people that we met in Texas, like I still talk to them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
The whole Truth Body crew,
Yeah.
they're dope. I feel like we're all the same, where we have very similar goals and we're trying to go into the same trajectory.
Yeah, so it's been nice. But I mean, you recently shared a bit about your bodybuilding journey on Instagram, which is why I thought that would be a cool topic for us to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you were just talking to someone the other day about kind of all of your feelings when it came to you competing for the first time. So it's just a cool experience and something that really sticks with you.
Yeah.
But also just having that kind of discipline leads into so many other areas of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something I really appreciate.
That's the nice thing about the whole experience, like you said, is just, it's not just about bodybuilding. Like, I learned so many things from this experience.
Yeah.
You become a different person. I think one of the biggest things that I learned was when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the type of person that wants to just blab about all my goals and dreams and aspirations and then actually execute none of them. Like, I feel like that's just such a common thing. People talk about the things that they want to do, but they never do them.
Yeah. I mean, it's like starting this podcast, right? Where you could try to perfect it and just keep pushing it back. But it's like, it just feels good to get it out there and improve as we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of, not wanting to disappoint yourself, and I got absolutely humbled at the gym last week.
So last pod, your win was that you got hit on at the gym, and this week you got humbled at the gym. I need to hear the story because I don't know if I heard it yet.
No, I haven't told you this, but one of the staff at Good Life, so at the beginning of January, one of my goals was to get up early, work out before my kind of work day started.
Yeah.
So he's there at 6 a.m. every day. So he sees who's there in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I think over the past couple of weeks, I started going in later and later. And all of a sudden my workout started at, 3 p.m. instead of 7. Mm-hmm. So he's like, wow, what happened? Like, that didn't last very long.
He said that to you?
Yeah.
Damn.
And it's not so much that I care about what he thinks, but I'm just disappointing myself by not being able to stick to what I said and get up early and just get out of bed, go to the gym, and just be ready to start my day at 9 a.m. So this morning I went and I, walked in shortly after 7 and he's like, oh, look at that. We're trying it again.
Damn.
And it just felt good.
And that's the whole point of people holding you accountable. Like, he's indirectly doing it.
Yeah.
You didn't hire him to do it. Like, that's not his job to do it. But like, the fact that someone in the back of your head is like making you think he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I said I'm supposed to be doing this and he called me out on it, even though he doesn't even know my goals.
Yeah.
So imagine having a person who's actually supposed to keep you accountable and does that on a regular.
Yeah.
And this is why we hire coaches. Because it makes a difference. It's like, sometimes I'll have clients who will message me and say, hey man, like, I really feel like binge eating right now. Like, I need you to convince me not to. And I will actually send them a message saying, stop being a punk. And I'm being generous.
In other words.
I have other words that I use. And I'm like really hard on them and saying, like, you said these are your goals. And if you decide to do this, then you're just letting yourself down. Yeah. Of course, I'm all about freedom and flexibility. So when it makes sense, like, it's okay. But if you're someone whose goal is to start doing better and you're already failing at it and you need help, like, I'm going to call you out. And I'm doing it out of a place of love. It's never out of a place of hatred. Yeah. Same thing with that guy. He's probably not calling you out and being like, I'm going to ruin her day and make fun of her. He's probably being like, what happened to that 7 a.m.?
Yeah. I mean, he's just being honest.
Yeah.
And it helped me, so.
Sometimes the truth and honesty hurts, but we need to hear it.
And I can say the same thing about, my job and working with clients as well, is the value of just having that person to hold you accountable and who's checking in with you every year can make a huge difference in terms of your investments.
Yeah, because sometimes we forget.
Yeah, like a lot of people have trouble prioritizing just looking at their finances and planning. So it really helps having that person to reach out to you and be like, hey, I want to meet. Bring in your partner. We're going to designate this hour to go through all of this with you. Yeah. To make sure you're either on track or we're updating the strategy if you've had something change in your situation.
Or you can just get married to one. And do that for you regularly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like we help each other out. We only have capacity in our brains to worry about so many things. For you, I know that that's an area that you just don't want to have to worry about.
Yeah.
And for me, like, it really helps when you're doing the groceries and doing all the meal prep. Because if I don't have to think about what I'm having for dinner, that's a huge relief for me.
Something that happened during my prep last year was for the entire prep, she piggybacked off of my meal preps. And it's like not a bad thing. It was just, I don't think you cooked ever
No.
for like a good 20 weeks. No, more actually, like 30 plus weeks. I did all the meal prepping for myself and I always made enough so that she could eat it too. And that just saved us so much time.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have to have two people cooking individual things all the time, you'll save a lot of time. And just meal prepping in general. So like if you guys are couples and you're trying to figure out how to figure out your meals and everything, have one person meal prep, or even if you want both of you to do a meal prep, it makes your lives easier.
Yeah.
She definitely didn't do a lot of cooking last year.
And you did nothing
Yeah.
in terms of
Yep.
budgeting,
Yep.
investing.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. Yeah. We have our strengths and definitely our weaknesses.
Yeah.
She also rearranged and redeveloped our entire house while I was on prep. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, start to finish of prep, as my body changed and I got leaner and more jacked, our house increased in value.
Well, it's very isolating to have a partner who's prepping for a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
You know, you're spending a lot of time alone, and obviously that means the same for me. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do to pass the time?
Yeah.
And also I tend to hyperfixate when there's something that I don't like about our rooms. So when I see something that I don't like, it's like I can't focus on anything else. Yeah, if there's something I don't like about the living room or the dining room or even our bedroom or the stairs, those are all projects that I kind of took on last year.
Like this right here, this wall used to be an entire portrait wall, and now it's black and it has this design here. She did that herself. Well, also your mom helped, but like the fact that you thought of doing all that, the fact that you executed on it and did it while I was melting away and dying was quite impressive.
Because originally, when it comes to DIY stuff, like I've never really done anything like that before. But once you do something like wainscoting and picking out paints and painting yourself and all the things that went into that, you get the confidence. My confidence was through the roof after that. I felt like I could build a house with my own hands.
She now could add interior designer to her bio.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what you did with the whole house.
But also, do you even have any idea how much money we spent last year?
Like in a good way or a bad way?
Take a guess.
Couldn't tell you.
What would you guess?
I actually, like, on what do you mean? Like, spent money on what, though?
Everything.
Expenses? Like the yearly expenses?
Yes.
I don't know.
Just guess.
I don't know. 50,000.
No.
More?
90,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I was in the mindset last year where I was kind of like, okay, I want to enjoy my money a little bit more. Like, I don't have to be so strict on myself. Because I was just kind of having fun, saying yes to going out with friends and kind of just doing whatever I wanted. And especially in terms of fixing up the house. But another one of my goals is I want to have $1 million invested within 7 years, by the time I'm 37. And that's doable if we invest $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
So,
which is not hard.
I know where that money went last year that we could easily save this year. Like, we went to Texas, we went to Dominican, we paid for flights for Greece this year, we put a deposit on a cruise next year, Leo had a surgery. All of these things really add up.
That's why you're the financial advisor and I'm the personal trainer. You handle the money and I just help you make it. And
it seems like a lot, but I would say that is pretty average. And especially if you have kids, then I've seen, household spending probably be easily over $120K a year. I think just for us, I'm willing to try to be a bit more aware of where our spending is going so that we can accelerate like the growth in our investments and be able to achieve that goal sooner versus us, you know, not having 1,000,000 until we're in our 40s or 50s. It's like, why can't we achieve that sooner if we're able to? It's just something I think more people need to be aware of. And we can all make more sacrifices depending on if the goal in the end is to have X amount of money. Then you kind of need to work backwards and think, okay, what should I be doing differently today to achieve that?
Yeah. And that's what this podcast is about. Fitness and finance.
I kind of went on a little rant there, but
yeah. But okay. It's all tied together because we were just talking about, you know, fitness and finance.
Okay. So yeah, more about our careers and kind of where we started versus where we are today and how it paid off for us by just following our passions in the next pod.
Yeah.
But
because I'm sure people will want to know what we were actually supposed to do originally, because we're both not at all doing what we went to school for.
Yeah.
Like very different directions. But we'll leave you guys with a cliffhanger. Leave in the comments what you think we went to school for if you don't know who we are. Because I think there's a lot of people who probably don't actually know what I graduated with.
Yeah.
Because when I tell people, they're always like, what? What are you doing here at the gym? Why are you a trainer? Like, well, tune into the next episode to find out.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
This is Money Body Goals, and catch you in the next one.
Peace.